Good morning, good afternoon, good day. That's the beauty of online instruction. Can be any part of the day. Alrighty, here we are. Russia, part one. Such a big country, we're going to divide this lesson into two. As you can see by the picture, Russia is different. Always has been, always will be. Where do you want to start with Russia? The size of the country. Look at the size of this thing. Used to be even bigger. See this white stuff? It's what they used to own when it was the Soviet Union. In 2014, they took the Crimea back. So, Russia has a history of losing stuff and getting it back again. So this could be the beginning of the Great Reconquest. I know it doesn't look that impressive, Crimea, but remember, big things have small beginnings. Russians like to play chess. They're very patient. I also notice this is a World War II map. This is Russia's current borders, but this is Germany and Poland there from the 30s. Oh well, we're not going to worry about it. Here we are, Russia. It's a huge country, 11 time zones. Can you believe this? And this country is so big that parts of it tend to operate independently of each other because it's so big. Look at the size of this thing, man. Got the Black Sea over here, the Baltic. Up here's the Arctic Ocean. Here's the Pacific. Down here's Japan, China, Mongolia. Yep, Russia. Is it Europe or is it Asia? Yeah, Russia's the home of the Yabbits. Yeah, it's Europe, but it could be part of Asia. Yeah, it's Asia, but looks like it started in Europe. And it just goes back and forth because Russia basically lives in two different worlds, Europe and Asia. It's a bridge between two different worlds. And some people even say Russia is kind of its own world to itself. It's certainly big enough, isn't it? Russian origins. Well, the people who lived in the European part of Russia are called Slavs. Still there. Now, we know the Vikings came through. The Vikings kind of showed up all over the place. Scandinavia, Western Europe, Iceland, Greenland, even made it to North America. I'm already impressed. They're still not done. Circle around Spain, into the Mediterranean, fighting Byzantines, fighting Muslims, establish their own country in Sicily. Vikings are all over the place, so let's start our own country in Russia. It's called Rus originally, hence the name Russia. The original king is King Rurik, and then his son Oleg, 862, traditional founding of Russia. Not even sure if these guys existed, but that's Russia's story. They're sticking with it. Heavy Byzantine influence on Russia. Why? Trade route. Down through the Black Sea, straight for Constantinople. They become Orthodox. The Russian alphabet looks like the Greek alphabet. Saint Cyril went up to Russia and taught him an alphabet. So Cyrillic alphabet. And like every other country on the planet, Russia has trouble figuring out succession because it's not a unified country. It's divided up into city-states, Novgorod, Moscow, Kiev. It sounds like, Athens, Sparta, Thebes, that sort of thing. And they slug it out with each other for the title of Grand Duke of Russia. Now, we first hear about the Russians in detail through Byzantine sources when it discusses the Varangian Guard. Who are they? This is the elite bodyguard for Byzantine emperors. Why would you want foreigners to be bodyguards for your emperor? As you know, the Byzantine Empire has a tendency to experience upheavals from time to time, and emperors have this nasty habit of getting killed or deposed. Armies are very reluctant to hack down their own people unless they come in a direct attack themselves. So if you have a bunch of foreigners guarding you, they have no trouble mowing down anyone trying to pull you off the throne. Basil, the Boulder Slayer, there you see him there, 976, 1025, might have been the guy who started this practice. Also, this shows you the links between Byzantium and Russia. They're very tight with each other. They also have a lot of Byzantine princesses marrying Russian nobility. Just like the Chinese. Chinese princes always marry Mongols or Manchurians or Tatars, what have you. Same thing going on here. Byzantine princesses get shipped off to marry some Russian noble, trading the sunny Mediterranean for the edge of Siberia. Yeah, they call it social climbing. I don't think the Byzantine princess is going for that. But, what are you going to do? It's a man's world back in the Middle Ages, right? Now, the reason Russia is, quote, so darn weird, end quote, as many of my students have said, is because of the Mongol invasion of Russia. Not just the invasion, the fact is they win and they stay for quite a while, 1240 to 1480. The Russians themselves refer to this as the Mongol yoke. A yoke is that thing that goes across the shoulders of an ox and holds it down while it pulls the plow. That's what the Russians refer to the Mongol occupation of their country. 1240 to 1480, the Russians miss out on most of the Renaissance. You can see by the years 1240, 1480, Byzantine Empire is starting to fade away. By 1480, it's gone because it fell in 1453. So Russia is this is where Russia gets that Asian look about it. So it's European, but definite Asian look to it. Other people go the other way, Asian, but with a European look to it. With the Mongol conquest of Russia, the East has come west. Russians defeat the Mongols for the first time in 1380 at a place called Kulakovo Field. Moscow is a city-state. You heard of that, started back in 1147. They're the Russian city-state who ambushed Mongol tax collectors in 1378. It's always about money, right? So, they kill these Mongol tax collectors. We're not paying anymore. Here come the Mongols. 1380, we've got a big battle at Kulakovo Field, and the Muscovites win. Muscovite guy from Moscow. Muscovites win. Oh my goodness. You know what happens? You hit the Mongols, they come back after you. And they do in 1382. But they make a deal with the Muscovites. Yeah, you get to be our tax collectors in Russia. Hey, when you consider what happened to Khwarizm a century earlier, the Muscovites got off the hook. Now, this isn't a great development for Russia. Instead of a Mongol smashing your face into the mud screaming, "Where's my money?" it's a Muscovite doing this. Yeah, things are tough in Russia. It never comes easy. Nonetheless, Moscow gets to run it for the Mongols, and we're still on the road to 1480 because 100 years later, Moscow decides to declare its independence from the Mongols again, and we have the Great Stand on the Urga River in 1480. Now, they instead of having a huge battle, we got a Muscovite army on one side and a Mongol army on the other, they decide to go old school and have two champions fight each other in single combat, winner take all. So we have a big hulking Russian hero and a big hulking Mongol hero, and they go toe to toe. And guess who wins? Alexander Percevet and some generic bad guy who loses. Why don't we know the name of the Mongolian guy? Nobody remembers the loser. It's the way it goes. Can you name all the presidents? I can. Can you name everybody who lost an election in the U.S. presidential election? I can, because I'm Mr. H, but even I got to think about it a little bit. Nobody remembers the bad guys. Nobody remembers the guy who loses. I could do all 50 Super Bowls too, but we're kind of going off subject. So back to Russia. So Alexander Percevet wins, Mongols lose, Moscow is free. Yay, Russia! No. Remember what I said earlier? Now the Muscovites are slapping their fellow Russians around. Stuff doesn't come easy in Russia, even dressed like Mongols. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. This also begins Russia's conquest of Siberia. Now, people have joined the Muscovites, and now we can actually start to call it Russia, though some people still refer to it as Muscovy as late as 1700. But, it's Russia now. It's becoming an actual country. Moscow's definitely in control. This is something you see throughout Russian history. They're big into centralization. And this is their Wild East. We had the Wild West, they got the Wild East. They're headed towards Mongolia, and they're fighting against Mongols and the Siberian people who live up in the woods. And if you ever look at a map of Siberia, you notice there's a lot of rivers that are flowing south to north. It means they got to cross these rivers. And these crossings will be contested by Mongols, which means it's going to be a very tough fight. The Russians have muskets now. But, muskets are kind of unreliable, and you don't go sloshing around in the water with them. Like I said, stuff comes tough to you in Russia. They don't do it easy over there. So quite often, when they try to force these river crossings, a lot of Russian battles in Siberia end up looking like Saving Private Ryan. So they got to cross the river, And they got this escarpments they got to race up. Oh, like I said, man, I keep saying it over and over. Things don't come easy in Russia. Here we are with Ermak Timofeyevich. They call him the conqueror of Siberia. He didn't conquer the whole place, but he got it started. The Golden Horde, of course, is disintegrated in a bunch of different Khanates, and one is the Khanate of Sibir, hence the name Siberia. He dies in battle in 1585, but goes down as a hero, 1585, same time we're losing Roanoke and Ocracoke Island over here. He uses the rivers as bases to attack from. You grab the river, and then you jump to the next river over and over. So like I said earlier, lots of riverine battles. It looks like Saving Private Ryan all the time. The Russians will reach the Pacific in 1639, and they treat the Bering Strait just like it's another river, and off they go to Alaska. Eventually they're going to sell Alaska to us because they are losing money on it, which says a lot because the Russians, when they take things, they don't like letting go. But, like I said, if you're losing money, it's easy to let it go. All right, that's Russia Part 1. That's what's going on in Siberia. This stuff is happening regardless of what's going on in the western part of the country. And believe me, the western part of the country is really going to get screwy. Of course, Siberia is always screwy, but you expect that in Siberia. Part 2 coming up next.